All right, once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this session of our Carmelita Gardens update. Carmelita Gardens is a project that is very near and dear to my heart. I am only a couple of miles away from it right now. I'm here in the Cayo district. And for many of you, I think you know that the Cayo district is a place where my family here, my husband's family is from. And so we purchased land in the Cayo district back in 2021, not even realizing how close we were to Carmelita Gardens when Phil, the developer, and I got together and he was asking about where the property was. I sent him a pin and he goes, you're only a couple of miles from Carmelita, right? And I had no idea. So it's been fantastic to watch the property grow. My first visit to Carmelita was back in 2014, 2015, I believe it was. And since then, we've seen a tremendous growth here within Carmelita Gardens. So this is a completely off-grid, self-sustainable riverfront community in the Cayo district. And I do want to put emphasis on the fact that it is a community. I've been living and working here in Belize since 2012 here in the Cayo district. I've seen a lot of developers come in and create subdivisions, but the subdivisions don't ever ultimately become communities. One of the big differences between a subdivision and a community is the third space and the amenities that the developer is putting in. Many developers here who are picking up large tracts of land in the Cayo district, they'll chop up the lots, then sell them for pretty inexpensively, give some financing packages, but they never put the money back into the property to maintain the third spaces. Whereas Carmelita here, it's about 20% of the property is allocated to gardens and orchards. There's roads throughout the entire property, and that's just not something that you find traditionally here in the Cayo district. So it's pretty neat to see that Phil Hahn, the developer, has put emphasis on that. He has the third spaces that you can see people playing there, pickleball. He's currently working on a community pool, which I'll share a little bit more about. But there's a really great group of people. We just had a discovery tour here a couple of weeks ago, and one of the events that we had at the discovery tour was a community potluck. So we invited community members who are living on site to join us to meet some potential new buyers or new owners there within the community. And it was really neat to be able to have those conversations, to see the people who are living here within Carmelita Gardens are indeed like-minded. And it was pretty exciting to see that. But with that, we're going to just jump right in. Excuse me. So Carmelita Gardens is located in the Cayo district. You can see the map over here. This is the entire Cayo district. It's about 70 miles to the international airport. There's only one international airport in the entire country. It's located here in Ladyville, Belize City. So it's about 70 miles to get from Ladyville, from the airport to Carmelita Gardens. In addition to that, Carmelita Gardens is in an incredible location where it's only 7 miles away from Spanish Lookout. If you can follow my cursor right over here, and then also 7 miles away from San Ignacio, which is right here. Spanish Lookout is the commercial hub for the entire country. It's a very big Mennonite community. It's a self-autonomous neighborhood that the Mennonites run. And there we have a lot of produce, agriculture coming out of Spanish Lookout. And then only 7 miles in the other direction is where we have San Ignacio. There's San Ignacio and Santa Elena. Those are the two sister towns. And that's where you find the farmers market, for example, that they have every day. But Saturday is the big day there at the farmers market. And it's another two big towns within the Cayo district. Something else I do want to mention is that Belmopan is also located in the Cayo district. That's right over here. This is the capital for the country. So this is where the lands department is. This is where you'll find an immigration office. This is where the U.S. Embassy is located. So if you're living here in country, your passport expires or your passport has run out of pages or something along those lines, you can just take a short trip over here to Belmopan, about 45 minutes away, and get all of your documents in order. So very, very convenient location. Cayo district is known for the jungles and rivers, outdoor activities, Mountain Pine Ridge, which is where this picture on the right-hand side was taken. Mountain Pine Ridge is an area of Cayo where they have mountains and you can see the waterfalls there, and then also a lot of pine trees. They have the red clay also, so it just feels like you're in a completely different environment. The Cayo district is where you have the McCall River and the Mopan River, and where those two rivers meet is where you get the Belize River. And it's the Belize River, about a mile of the Belize River, that wraps around the Carmelita Gardens community. In addition to that, in Cayo, you're going to be finding a lot of Mayan ruins. One of the most popular is Zunantanich. There's also Cajalpesh, Altunja, a couple Altoona is actually not in Cayo, but you have a few of the really big ones. This one here at Zunantanich, which is just about 35 minutes from Carmelita Gardens specifically. In addition to that, I was mentioning to you San Ignacio. So San Ignacio is where It's the hub, I would say, for Cayo. It's a very big town. It's where you have some of the best schools in the country. You have restaurants, you have places to shop, of course, the gas stations that are over there. But San Ignacio and the sister town, Santa Elena, as well. The big farmers market is here. Saturday, as I was mentioning, is the big day at the farmers market. Actually, yesterday started the Ruta Maya. Ruta Maya is a canoe race where they start in San Ignacio and then go all the way to Belize City. It spans over 4 days and they start early in the morning on Friday. So they started that yesterday and it goes actually right past Carmelita Gardens, which is pretty neat. So you're able to see these canoes go right past Carmelita and then they end up in Belize City over the span of the 4 days. So it's a big event. People will get their lawn chairs ready and grab a cooler and watch the canoe people in the canoe go by. It's a lot of fun. In addition to that, we mentioned Spanish Lookout. So Spanish Lookout is a Mennonite hub in the country. If you have been to, I saw someone from Ohio, but Ohio, Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where there's that big Amish community, it actually feels very similar to that. The roads feel like you're in the United States or in a Mennonite or Amish community. In addition to that, they have a lot of commercial industries here that run out of Spanish Lookout. So it's a very convenient location, Carmelita is, where you can be in Spanish Lookout in 15 minutes, or you can be there within San Ignacio within 15 minutes. So let's hone in a little bit closer about Carmelita Gardens. So Carmelita Gardens is about, we'll round up to about 100 acres of fertile land. Something that you find in Cayo that you don't necessarily find around the entire country is the fertile agricultural land here. With Spanish Lookout being so close, that's where they have a lot of the farms. That's where a lot of the agriculture is coming from. Here, you don't even need a green thumb in order for your outdoor gardens to grow. So because we're in the tropics, you can expect tropical plants to grow very well. So papaya, mango, passion fruit, pineapples, tomatoes grow very well here. Cilantro is big in the Belizean cuisine. You'll tend to find that, but all of that grows very well here. Plantains, bananas. So again, you don't need to have a green thumb. You plant it, make sure it has some water every now and again, and it continues to grow. As I mentioned, we're 1 mile of the Belize River frontage. So here's the Belize River. This is where, again, the McCall and the Mopan meet. It's just a little bit upstream. And then from there, you have homes and lots that are located right on the river, but then you also have the gardens lots as well. Located on site, we actually have a Mayan ruin site, which is pretty neat. Maya Mound is what it's called. It's in this area right over here. And if you just walk up on the mound, what you'll find are little pottery shards. We please ask, do not take anything with you, but you will find that right here on site. Now, I mentioned to you that Phil, a developer, is working on a pool design. So you can see on the site map the different brown lots. These are considered civic lots. Civic lots are more of commercial spaces. So it's going to be lots that are allocated for something that will be for the community. So you can see what looks like the upside down triangle right over here, just below town square. And this is where that pool area is getting designed. So this is a great location for, if you're somebody who wants to have quick access to the pool, you want to be within a quick location to that upside down triangle. But in total, there are 245 lots, 155 of them have sold. And this was something else that we started to allude to, is all of the green space, 20% green space. So you can see where it says gardens and orchards, gardens, orchards, orchards. There are in a handful of these areas plants already growing. In fact, right over in this area over here, a new garden was just planted right behind lot 122 and 123 is where three new types of plants were planted. There's papaya, there's citrus, I think it's plantain is the other, and it's growing very well here. One of my favorite areas of the property is right over in this area where you see the orchards, because they do have mango trees just lining the back of this area over here. So really, or sorry, this area right over here, you have that right there. And then over on this side of Carmelita, and you can see in this picture over here, this aerial picture, it's a little bit more foresty. So if you want a little bit more vegetation on your property, then you may want to be looking in this area. Follow my circle right over here, but we can dig into that a little bit deeper with whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish. So as mentioned, the brown lots that you see, these are the civic lots. So this is if you're looking to start a business or you want to do something commercial, this would be the area that you're going to be purchasing in. Anywhere where you see the brown lots. We mentioned the Maya Mounds that are over to you. This is the area that we talked about has more vegetation. And then in addition to that, the riverfront recreation. So again, a mile of direct river frontage, which means even if you're not directly on the river, there are river access points throughout the entire property. So you're still able to access the river should you decide that you want to grab an inner tube, just lounge around, grab those lawn chairs, or perhaps you want to watch the canoe race, the Ruta Maya that happens once a year that we were just talking about. You're able to do that as well. So the Riverside Park, you can see that right over here. This is a lot that was actually dedicated to be left as is, and then it has access going down to the rivers too. So Town Square, we talked about this area over here. This will really be the hub of the community. As you're driving in to Carmelita Gardens, you're going to be greeted by the pool, by Town Square, and this is really the central point of the entire community. So here, this gives us a good overview of Carmelita. Just again, the peninsula, let me go back here. So this is the peninsula area. And then this is that more wooded area. This is the entrance that we were talking about before, Town Square here in the middle. So again, this is the peninsula area that we see, the wooded area, the entrance coming in right over here. Follow my cursor. This is where the pool design is going. And then this is the square that's been dedicated as the Town Square area. So you can see homes all along the river and then homes also throughout the interior green lots. This is probably one of my favorite streets here in Belize. It's called Cottage Row. It's lots that are smaller in size, 1/8 of an acre. It's really intended for people who are looking to build smaller, very efficient homes. You don't necessarily need tons of indoor space. You can build the cottage model along this area over here, but it's a beautiful area. So let's talk about some of the things that are in progress within Carmelita and the neighborhood. So we talked about the community pool area design underway. So I just met up with Phil yesterday and we were going through that pool design to see what it's going to look like. So he'll have a pool area, of course. In addition to that, there's going to be an outdoor palapa. There'll be an area for people to come together for gatherings. For example, if you're living at Carmelita and you want to host a birthday party for your significant other, or your kids are coming to town and you want to host a get together, you'll be able to do it in that space. In addition to that, he's allocated areas of the pool area for games, outdoor Jenga, for example. So it's really a great community space. Right now, let me zoom back a little bit, but right now the community space is within Cottage Park West. So it's in this area over here. So it's a cottage model that was converted to a community space. There's a large outdoor area covered that people are able to go to. And then you have the community gardens over in this space over here. But he wants to create more space, bigger space for people to be able to come together. And because this is a completely off-grid neighborhood, not everybody was wanting pools because it's going to take more solar, it's going to take more water. So he realized that having a pool for the community was a great way to bring the members together. And like we talked about, there are many subdivisions within Kyle, but there are very few communities that actually have the developer doing what Phil is doing and bringing the community members together in that space. In addition to that, there was a master grid to tie into. So one of the biggest expenses when you're designing and building your custom home or a home at Carmelita Gardens is going to be the solar. For a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet, you can typically expect a solar package to be about $30,000. However, Deeds is one of the biggest solar companies in the entire country. They are putting up a shop there essentially at Carmelita Gardens. They're putting a big system where you can tie into that if you want, and then they would charge you based on kilowatt hours about how much electricity you're using if you don't necessarily want your own system. So this is a great model, a great option to have. You're not required to do it. You can, of course, have your own system too, but if you don't necessarily want to splurge right now on that, this is an option you can have. In addition to that, the road between Bullet Tree and Spanish Lookout is getting paved. So let me go back to the map over here. So there's Spanish Lookout, Carmelita Gardens, and San Ignacio. So there's a road that goes from Spanish Lookout, wraps around, goes down, wraps around over here to San Ignacio. But as it's wrapping around, so it goes to Spanish Lookout, Carmelita Gardens, and then there's another town called Bullet Tree that's about 3-4 miles away from Carmelita Gardens. And the road to Bullet Tree to Spanish Lookout, it's graded. It's fine, it's okay, but paved roads are obviously better. So it's this section of the road that they're going to be paving from Spanish Lookout over to Bullet Tree. So we're really excited about that. Right now, the road's in decent condition. There's no huge potholes or anything along those lines, but paving is obviously just a lot smoother. So we're really, really excited about that. And then one more thing I want to mention, I apologize, I should have had a little bit more of a zoomed in map, but Carmelita Gardens is only about half a mile from Santa Familia. Santa Familia is a village where they have a great grocery store, a gym, tortilla stands. They have some neighborhood stores, corner stores as well, where you're able to get the essentials. So Carmelita Gardens, even though it's 7 miles from Spanish Lookout, 7 miles from San Ignacio, it's very, very close. It's within actually the Santa Familia village limits. And then it's only a few miles away from Bullet Tree as well. So it's in a great location. With that road getting paved, it's going to be a game changer because it just means much easier access to getting to some of those bigger hubs. And then in addition to that, there's been talks about building the bridge from Santa Familia, which is the village that Carmelita is in, over to Santa Elena. Santa Elena is one of those sister towns that we were talking about, San Ignacio and Santa Elena. And that bridge going over the Belize River will make it so that you're in Santa Elena in 5 minutes versus the current 15 to 20 minutes that it currently takes. So access to Carmelita is just getting easier, which we're really, really thrilled about. But that road, this was the picture from the groundbreaking of the road getting paved. We're really, really thrilled to see that happening. Again, just easier access for people to get here. So 20% of the land of about the 100 acres has been allocated to green space, which means that it can never get built on. You'll have gardens, you'll have orchards, again, places for people to come together, but you're not going to have other homes get built in that space. And so you can start to see behind Cottage Row over here, this is the gardens. There's actually the gardens area was recently redone to be optimized and to make sure that it is growing as well as possible. The folks who handle the gardening at Carmelita Gardens owned an orchard, organic orchard in the States, and they've come to Belize, living in Belize full time, and have committed to the gardens here at Carmelita. So they put new beds in. They really just did an overhaul of the gardens areas to make them as efficient as possible and have as much variety as possible. And then I was talking to you about the area right over by Scout Park, which is where there's a pickleball court and a basketball court. They did more planting over here, which is where they have the papaya and the citrus. So a really, really neat community area. So again, just that overview, 155 lots have sold at this point. There are about 40 to 50 residents who live on site full time. There are also a handful that come and go. So this may not necessarily be their primary residence, or they're perhaps down here during the winter months where it's a little bit colder in their home country and they'll enjoy the sunshine down here. At this time, there are 47 off-grid homes, 2 properties that are operating as business properties, 5 new homes that are under construction, and 7 homes that are in design. So what you'll see is there are a variety of homes. You can have a cottage. This is a custom cottage model, 1 bed, 1.5 bath. And this one is more of a customized villa, or you can have a bungalow. Now, there are these 3 floor plans that you can choose from: the cottage, the villa, or the bungalow. Or you can take any sort of floor plan and create your own variation to it. Or you can say, you know what, I want to create a completely custom home, and you can do that as well. So these were some more of the custom builds that you see over here. The manor home, this is probably one of the largest homes that we have at Carmelita. They do have their own pool. It's actually 2 lots. These homeowners purchased 2 lots and then built so that they had space, ample space on either side of them. You can see there's plenty of solar to be able to accommodate the pool. They have a guest house over here, a large chef's kitchen as you walk in, high vaulted ceilings, just a really beautiful space. But you can see these homeowners on the top left, they wanted to go for more of that Italian theme. This second home over here below, this was built by a lady who was moving down to Belize with her 3 children. So she wanted to create a home that was large enough to be able to accommodate her children. And then you can see this one is a pretty neat home. It's a decagon, I believe. And so it's just something that's very different. But there's an in-house architect that helps guide you through all of this so that you don't have to come in knowing exactly what you want to do. Like we mentioned, you can look at the floor plans of what's already been created. You can work off of that. Or if you do have a custom design in mind, you're certainly able to integrate that into the community over here. So again, Cottage Row over in this area. This is the peninsula area over here. And then this is that wooded area with the Maya mounds that we were talking about. If you can follow my cursor, this is the road going to the left to Santa Familia. So in half a mile, you're right there at the Holmes grocery store, the gym. Or if you continue following the road up here, then you're going to be at Spanish Lookout in about 7 miles, about 15 minutes. And then, of course, the Belize River, as you can see underneath. But beautiful homes here at Carmelita. They can be tiny homes, cottage models, or you can go up to as large as make sense for you to accommodate. So there are two different lot types. There are greenway lots, and then there are also river lots. Within the greenway lot, there are three different types depending on the size and depending on the location within the community. So if you're somebody who's coming in, you're perhaps looking for something a little bit smaller, you don't need a huge home, then you could be considering the 1/8 acre lots for 39,000. They're the lightest green that you see here on the screen. If you want something a little bit larger, then look at that mid green color for 49,000 at 1/4 of an acre. And then if you want something even bigger, about 1/3 acre, you're looking at 59,000. Now this is just for the lot by itself. And the neat part is that the developer, Phil, will actually finance the lot. The home construction is going to be cash based on the milestones, the construction milestones, but the lots can be financed. So we threw a couple of examples up here for you. These are the 1/8 acre lots. So light green that we see up here, the 1/8 acre lots with 80% financing, 8-year term, 8% interest. Down, you only have to put $7,800, and then monthly it's $441.06. So you can see it's a nice affordable option as you are able to finance. You don't have to finance, but it's always an option if you have to liquidate or get some finances in a row. So this is the second tier of greenway lots, the 1/4 acre. And again, the same financing terms, 80% financing, 8-year term, 8% interest. So down, you're putting down a little bit more at 9,800, and then your monthly payments come out to $554.16 a month. Now, these are the lots. I love the location of these lots. They're across the street from Scout Park. Scout Park's actually down here a little bit more, and then they back up to the gardens. So you have a really nice garden space. This is the area that they've recently redone as well. And then there's Cottage Row behind here. Then Cottage Park West, which is the current community center, is right over here. So you're close to the community center. You have gardens behind you. And it's actually a lot more lush since this photo was taken, but you're also close to the park to be able to play pickleball and to play basketball or just watch the games being had if you're not necessarily into the sports. And then this is the third greenway lot. So this is larger at 1/3 acre. And so here it's 80% financing, same terms, 8-year term, and then 8% interest. And down it's going to be closer to $12,000 with your monthly payments of $667.25. Lot 12. And, if anyone's interested, this is just a snippet of the lots. There are more that are available. We can send you the availability map, just depending on what it is that you're looking to accomplish. Now, excuse me, if you're somebody who wants to be on the river, you want to be able to hear the river passing by your home or have that water view, then there are three different types of river lots. The 1/8 acre and 1/2 acre, we've sold out of the middle tier, but the 1/8 acre, you'll see the light blue along the peninsula over here, and then the darker blue is where we have the 1/2 an acre that you can see riding along on this side of the Belize River. So again, examples on this, there is financing available for the river lots as well. Do note that the financing is a little bit different for the river lots. It's 50% down, 4-year term, 8% interest. And so with this example here, down, you'd be putting 29,000, we'll round up to 30,000, and monthly payments of $417.03 a month. And so this backs up right here to the river. The next example that you see is a 1/2 an acre lot. This one's at 79,000. And again, that same financing for the river lots, 50% financing, 4-year term, 8% interest. So down, you're closer to 40,000 and your monthly payments are $558.40. Now with any of the financing, there's no prepayment penalties. So you can pay it off at any time without paying any penalties. But this is just a great way to get access to your lot and then figure out down the line what it is that you want to do. Here are a couple more examples of the 1/2 acre lots. If you're somebody who wanted a little bit larger of a space, this is a great option for you. There aren't many lots that are adjoining to each other left on the river. So this is a great option for a 1 acre in total. If you want some space that's a little bit bigger, then lot 151 and 152 could be a great option for you. And this is precisely what that manor home did, that large blue home with the pool that we saw before. They picked up 2 adjacent lots so that they had more space between them and their neighbors. Now, if you're ready to move in, you're saying, that's great that you have lots. I don't necessarily want to go through that design phase, or I'm ready at this point to move into Carmelita. There are a few resale homes available. Casablanca, it reminds me of that Southern charm. She has beautiful locally made clay tiles. And then she has the Tiffany blue shutters. It's a stunning home, Casablanca. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath plus a loft for $355. Below that is Casa Tortuga. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. This is located on the peninsula area of the map. And this is indeed riverfront. This home reminds me of like that quintessential fishing trip home. So if you're going on a fishing trip with your friends, like a cabin style, it's really unique, really fun, and looking right over the river. They get quite a bit of hummingbirds over there. They have a hummingbird feeder, a hammock on the back part of the patio, just a really stunning space. And then Casa Tamalita, this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a loft for $293. And we have more pictures. I will be happy to send over the listing links if anybody is interested in any of these resale homes. We can certainly send those over to you. You can email us info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com, and we can send you the listing links for any of these resale homes. So we do continue to see Carmelita being an attractive option for people who are looking to move to Belize. We understand when you move to a foreign country, it is just that, it is foreign. However, Carmelita really embraces and embodies that true sense of community that I think a lot of people do tend to look for when they are moving to another country. We have the third spaces, there's the gardens, there's the orchards, there's the pool that Phil is working on to bring people together. In addition to that, with the lot financing, it just makes it easier to access a property where you don't have to put 100% down now. You can put down 20% or 50%, depending on the lot that you choose, and then pay it off over time. In addition to that, Carmelita offers in-house resources, an architect, a property manager, people to make sure that you are getting done what you want to get done. I understand, I'm from New York originally. When I moved down here, I didn't have these sort of in-house resources, so I had to figure things out on my own. And I'll tell you, there is some tuition that you have to pay when you figure things out on your own. And a lot of those subdivisions, that's also what it is. It's figuring it out on your own. And sometimes it can be a bit hefty of a tuition that you're paying, but you don't have to go through that here. It really was designed to ensure that people are able to enjoy their time and their life in Belize. And yes, Belize life is a little bit different. It's much simpler than life in North America. I will say that. Tends to be a lot more laid back. You tend to have that quiet, relaxing time. You can listen to the birds. You can go take a dip into the river. But having these sort of in-house resources just make it a lot easier and convenient for you, where you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. Now, with that being said, we do have a couple of discovery tours coming up, April 25th to 28th and August 28th to the 31st. If you're interested in this, please send us an email, info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com. But during this time, what we're going to do is explore the Cayo district. We're going to hit some of the hot spots here for you to become familiar with. You'll get to meet the community members. We're going to have a potluck dinner at Carmelita Gardens. You'll get to see what the farmers market in San Ignacio is about. We'll get to ride down the Belize River on inner tubes. This is one of my favorite activities here while in the Cayo district. We'll get to hear from an architect, get to hear from the developer, and just have the chance to really experience what life in Belize and Carmelita and Cayo is like. So with that, what I want to do is open the floor to any questions. And then there's my email address there at the bottom part of the screen, info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com, and we can get that over to you. All right, so Jerry just says, I'm in sunny Wyoming with 8 inches of snow this morning. Oh no. Well, hopefully I'm glad at least the sun is out for you there, Jerry. That's always a good part. Michael is saying, any plans for a permanent pickleball court? Ooh, thank you, Michael. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because yes, that'll be over there in the pool area as well. So as we were going through the design plan with Phil yesterday, there's the pool, there's the pickleball area. Sorry, I really should have mentioned that. But yes, that will be something. There's some avid pickleball players in the community, so we want to make sure they have their spots. Michael's saying, do residents tend to buy cars down there? Do they rent? Do people rely on shuttles to from San Ignacio and Spanish Lookout? Really good question. So I would say it depends on your situation entirely. There are residents that don't have a car, and they'll buddy up with somebody who does have a car, and they'll either borrow the car to go run their errands as they need to, or they'll go with them as those people are going to San Ignacio or some of the other areas. In addition to that, some residents have e-bikes, so you can easily take your e-bike and go to the local grocery store, some of the areas there within Santa Familia. I would say, you're probably not going to be taking the e-bike all the way into San Ignacio, possible, but I would say for that, a car is probably better. Now, there are buses that pass by Carmelita Gardens on a regular basis, going to Spanish Lookout, going to San Ignacio. So you can always hop on a bus for $1 or so. Or what you can do is you can buy a car here in Belize, or you can send one down. And actually, what we've seen is most folks will tend to send a car down from the States. You know, it's a car that you know well, that is performing well, it's doing well, you had the checkup, everything looks good with the car, and you can either drive it down, or there is somebody that a lot of the residents that Carmelita uses tends to drive the car down for you. They'll pass it through customs and immigration. Customs numbers will depend entirely on the model of the car, the make of the car, and how many miles it has. But you're able to do that. Like, for example, we just brought a 2018 F-150 in from the States, and customs that we had to pay for it wasn't bad. It was about 2,700 US dollars. So customs can get expensive if you're trying to bring in a brand new car, which I would not recommend. But it's not impossible. It's also not entirely cost prohibitive to bring something in, but there are people that can do that for you, so you're not the one who has to do that drive through Mexico. You can always buy a car here. A lot of folks do tend to do that. I would just make sure you're going to a couple mechanics to make sure that everything looks good. You want to make sure the engine is good. You want to just make sure that the car is in good shape. Now, you can rent a car, however, that gets quite pricey. There's a car rental company, Crystal, Crystal, here in Belize City. And they typically, though, they'll charge a couple $1,000s US per month. So ultimately, Michael, I would say it really just depends on how much time that you want to spend down here. And that can help dictate what the answer to that question is for you specifically. Now, I know at one point they were doing a shuttle service back and forth like once a week to San Ignacio for residents. I don't know if they're continuing to do that. I don't think there's the demand there right now, since a lot of folks do have their own cars, but that's always something that could perhaps be started up again with the community group. Michael's saying, or sorry, William is saying, is flooding a problem as the community is right? Oxbow of the river. Really good question. So in Belize, let me go back to a better rendering picture. If you're along a river, you should expect flooding of some sort. It's not something that happens multiple times a year or even every year. It happens every now and again with the floods. And because the Belize River, the river that you see here on the screen, is where the Mopan and the McCall meet, it really has to be when both rivers are flooding. So we did just have a flood in November 2024. The homes that were here within the peninsula did see flooding. The river didn't get into the homes. You'll see that the homes are elevated. They didn't get into the homes, but it did go a few inches below where the floor line is. So it's, I mean, anywhere in the world, you do have natural disasters or scenarios that could occur from natural elements. So you just make sure you're building appropriately. At Carmelita, we are aware that flooding could happen. It has happened in the past. So any homes that are within the floodplain, for example, you'll want to just build elevated. People who are not in the floodplain even tend to build elevated because you get better breezes, you have really nice views. But that is a very good question. If you want to be out of the floodplain, then if you can follow my cursor, you'll want to be looking like in this area over here. Yeah, like this area over here. There's one lot number 203. This is the only riverfront lot available right now that's out of the floodplain. It's a resale. I don't have it here specifically in the presentation, but you can email us info@lunarealtybelize.com and I'll send you the listing link for it. But this is the only riverfront lot that's out of the floodplain. Otherwise, if you're in this area over here, you will be affected by floods. But again, that's why we built elevated. And Carmelita, Phil's had this property since 2010. He studied it quite extensively, and so they're making sure they're making sure they're building to the elements. So yeah, really, really good question. But William, as I mentioned, you'll also see a lot of the homes tend to be elevated anyway, because you get better views, you get the breezes. It's something that tends to be quite popular. Jennifer saying, how bad are the mosquitoes? I mean, not bad. I would say I spent a lot of time in San Pedro. They tend to be worse out in San Pedro, but also building elevated helps with the mosquitoes. So you don't necessarily have as many. But I would say it just depends on the season. Also at Carmelita, there are no standing bodies of water. Mosquitoes tend to gravitate towards standing bodies of water, and we don't have that here. We have the flowing river. So you don't tend to have a mosquito problem. All right, Deidre saying the river. Yep, we did talk about that. And Deidre, I like how you said this here. Does the river flood during the rainy season? It's not necessarily during the rainy season. I mean, it could happen, sure, during the rainy season, but it's not common during the rainy season. It has to be when there's that perfect overflow of rain coming in from both the Mopan and the McCall. But during a standard rainy season, the river will rise, but it doesn't necessarily flood. Anonymous attendee wants to visit the property on Tuesday, the 25th. Sure, just make sure that you reach out to us. Angie is our on-site representative there. So email us. It says anonymous attendee, so I can't get you the details. So if you don't mind, just email me and I can send you, connect you up with Angie to coordinate that for the tour on the 25th. And let me go back to the email address. And excuse me, info@lunarealtybelize.com would be perfect for that anonymous attendee. And Jerry's saying, are there any specific requirements to bring a vehicle into Belize? No, not necessarily any specific requirements. If you're coming in under the QRP program, the Qualified Retired Persons Program, you're able to bring a vehicle in duty free. So you can bring it in without paying those customs taxes. However, it can't be older than 5 years old. Now, if you're not bringing it under the QRP, you're just bringing it in, as a homeowner or property owner or as a tourist, then it can be any age. But what they'll typically do is they'll just want to make sure that it's in good shape, right? So and you can typically tell if it's in good shape if it's going to be driving down from the States or Canada to Mexico. But no, not necessarily specific requirements. Jerry, good question. Oh, Mike, good question here. He said current or future planned community HOA cost to owners. That's a good question. So every year, they call it a CMF, Community Maintenance Fund. The Community Maintenance Fund Board will determine what the costs are to maintain the common areas. And then that gets split. It doesn't matter what the size of your lot is. It doesn't matter if there's a home on your lot or not yet. Right now, this year, it's about $561 US per year. So very affordable, and that makes sure that all of the common areas are maintained, make sure the gardens are maintained, make sure the roads maintained. So I find that to be very affordable for the sort of state that the property is in. Are private firearms permitted in Belize? They can be. There are certain requirements that you need to meet in order to get a firearms. But I would recommend reaching out to an attorney about that if there's any firearm that you're looking to import. I don't have that list. I don't know the requirements off of the top of my head. All right, I love these questions. These were fantastic. So whoever is planning to be down there in Belize or coming to visit, let us know if you want to join us for this tour. Please reach out, info@lunarealtybelize. We are going to be capping it. We don't necessarily want a group of 25 people. We want something a little bit smaller, intimate, easier to move around. So if either of these dates work for you or you're looking at the dates, let us know and we can get you registered. Oh, I do see one more question from Deidre. She said, can anyone use the gardens? Great question. Yeah, I mean, technically anyone can use the gardens. However, they do have a landscaping team, a gardens team that takes care of the community gardens. If you have your own lot, then you're able to plant whatever you want on your lot, which is actually what my recommendation would be, so that you're not having people, other people going on to the community gardens area and taking your fruit. So I would say you can plant anywhere on your lot. You have really fertile agricultural land, but it's certainly able to do that. Now with the community gardens, there is somebody that will come and collect, and then they have a farmer's market where they're going to be selling the property, or so not the property, they'll be selling the fruits for a fraction of what you can find in other locations. But it's a great area. I would say, Deidre, whatever you want to grow, you can also just grow it on your own property. And then, oh, James, great question. So property taxes, how much are property taxes? So this, you may think I'm joking when I tell you this. Property taxes for the lots at Carmelita Gardens are about 10 Belize dollars a year, which is $5 US. $5 US a year is how much you should anticipate to pay for property taxes at Carmelita Gardens. So I would say very affordable. I'll let you make your own judgment on that, but just good, of course, to know the number. So $5 US for property taxes per year, and then community maintenance fund about $561 per year for 2025 specifically. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be posting this up on YouTube afterwards. I do want to make a mention for anybody listening after that we're recording this. We're doing this session on March 8th. Availability numbers may have changed. The developer may change his mind on some of the financing later on. So I just want people to be aware that this information is relevant for March 8th and anybody who's listening at this time. All right, I do see more questions coming in. So if you guys are open to it, I'll continue to answer them. Anonymous attendee is saying, how much is insurance on an average home of $300,000 US? It really depends on how your home is constructed. So a lot of the original homes at Carmelita were built with wood. Over time, they went to block construction, cinder block and rebar. And now they're at something that's similar to Coventec. It's SIP panels, the styrofoam panels, and then blasted with concrete. It's incredible for insulation. It has a very high R factor. So it's also very, very durable. So homes that are wood will tend to be more expensive insurance wise, usually about 2 to 3 times more expensive than something that's built with the SIP panel construction that we currently have at Carmelita Gardens. So your insurance can be anywhere from $1,000 US a year to $3,000 or $3,500 a year. If you have wood home. And it also just depends on, of course, the size of your home, the value of your home, the number of bedrooms, all of those details. But I would say on average from about 1,000 to 3,500 US, just depending on those factors. Oh, Jerry, great question. Are there any time limits on building on your lot or building specs? Great question. No, there's no time limit to building on your lot. You can build whenever the time is right for you, which is, I think, a huge perk in this community. And then there are covenants, codes, and restrictions. I'm happy to send those over to you, Jerry, beforehand so you can see what they look. They want to just help to create that community feel within Carmelita. They don't want you putting up a huge, neon green lighthouse in the middle of the property or having a pig farm. In fact, you can have farm animals should you choose. Chickens tend to be the most popular, but they just want to make sure that what's getting built is within is fitting in with the community. But it's very loosey-goosey. There is an architectural committee as well that'll review your plans, but there's also the in-house architect. So the in-house architect will be working with you to make sure that you're going to be building something that would be approved at Carmelita Gardens. Yeah, great question there. So, what's nice about the no build timeline requirements or the no timeline requirements to build is that if you decide to own something today, you can wait until the time is right to actually start building on it, which is something that I would recommend because we are seeing that inventory is getting more and more limited. And if for some reason something happens where you can't build like you always thought you would, then you can always sell your lot. It's a great option too, just in case. We understand life circumstances happen. So anonymous attendee is, how far is the drive from Golden Airport to Carmelita Gardens? I'm thinking you mean from the airport, the Belize City Airport to Carmelita. It's about 70 miles, so it can take about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, just depending on how fast you're going, if there are a lot of trucks on the road, those sort of details. Yeah, very good question. Very, very good question. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. Feel free to reach out to us, info@lunarealtybelize.com. We'd be happy to get those details to you. And in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you here in Belize at some point soon. Bye, everyone.